Right, and there have been a few tweaks now. We haven't told you because I knew a few more were on the way than just the hybrid and sustainable fuel news. Changes in engine spec, qualifying safety car, tyres and the Jack Sears Trophy. Some are small things, some are big. Now, if you read the web article that this video is connected to, link in description, you'll see I had a good chat on Friday with Dave Tyson, who's team manager for Unlimited Motorsport, the Btcc team who ran the sustainable fuels and test for Btcc Toker over the last two rounds of the 2024 season. I've spoken off the record to a couple of other people in Btcc paddock about a couple of issues they see that are perhaps not popular. So we're going to get into that too. Right then, if you read the article, yes, I'm pushing it, you'll discover that Dave told me that it is a pure drop-in fuel. And the only thing that will be changed on the cars next season to adapt to the change will literally be fuel lines and seals, because there's not going to be any of the temperature problems, engine knock or spray pattern problems that's been seen as other championships move to sustainable non-crude fuels. It works. The cars will be lighter and everybody is quids in. Almost, because I have spoken with a few people involved at a couple of the teams and to a couple of drivers to get some opinions, and I can say this. From what I've been told so far, and it's not across the board, but it seems the price of a drive from last season will not drop in line with the cost of reduction from Cosworth's hybrid system being canned. So if, as an example, a drive was £450,000 last year, according to what I've been told in the last few days by more than one source, it would be £450,000 again for this season for a couple of reasons. One being that some teams are running the limit of their budgets, hence why some, not all, have disappeared recently. And, well, some of it's just down to simple balance in the books and partially down to inflation as well. I mean, it's all about easing some of the strained areas in the race team in terms of development or operational costs. And to be very honest, despite some holes being picked from those, from people I've spoken to, there is an overwhelming positivity about changes coming in British Touring Car Championship from within the sport. As for the hybrid itself that's not 100% supported. Actually, I'll rephrase that. Having the boost button isn't 100% supported because obviously it's electric's gone but turbo steam, but there's a couple of drivers who would like to see ballast back, but speaking openly perhaps is not the done thing right now as the news is coming out. And this is from the top half of the field where results on a regular basis affect these drivers I've spoken to. The challenge of setup changing through the day is the ballast has changed is one thing that I've missed over the last couple of years, because as I was told by them, it has an overall penalising effect. As one of those drivers pointed out, you're only at a disadvantage when other people have more laps of boost at certain points on a circuit. In terms of base speed, including the car will be set up, it's those couple of opportunities as opposed to having an advantage or disadvantage in every braking zone or everywhere where there is rotation. And I do get it. Don't know if I agree with it yet, still something to see. Look at the Brands Hatch finale at the end of last season. The fastest drivers were at the front and they remained there when they ran out of hybrid, but those behind the leaders hadn't. Because this is what happens when you put the fastest drivers in the fastest cars. That's just simply what you get. I have a mantra when it comes to these rules with touring cars, and that is you have to use impure rules to create pure racing. Now, with the exit of hybrid, we're back to the old triangle of weekend costs for the cars, that is anyway, tyres, fuel, engine. It allows teams to plan in a more sustainable, not just in fuel, in a more sustainable way. Now, across the last few years, I've been repeatedly told by teams and drivers that hybrid costs originally £20,000, rose up to £30,000, maybe a bit more per season for the lease. It wasn't a deal breaker when you're averaging, let's just say, £500,000 for a car, if the numbers I'm told are right, for a seat. So 20 to 30,000, if that's a tipping point, because you've got to add in damage coverage as well. You shouldn't be there. But it does look like we'll take the pressure off the teams in the sense that they're not as close to financial limits as what they were possibly. But it won't really change anything for drivers. Until the teams need drivers, that is. If drivers can't raise the budget, some seats will be less than market value, I reckon, come early next year. As we're saying though, driver budgets are still shrinking as team costs are rising. And the championship's trying to tackle this head on with some of these cost changes. Honestly though, there are some things where costs are a struggle to cut without some kind of commercial benefactor covering the finances. Remember, if you or I wanted to buy the amount of Goodyear race tyres that a team uses in a season, and this isn't a slight on Goodyear because they are what they cost, but if we had to buy them, we'd shit ourselves, because off the shelf, like if I went to buy them, race day tyres alone are somewhere between 35,000 and 40,000 for a season. That's not pre-season testing, practice qualifying, that's just race day, because that's 3 sets of 4 tyres, and it's around about £300 a tyre, a bit less, bit more, I don't know how much it's going to be this year, but it's been about that. I mean, yeah, I know you can't race without tyres. It's like comparing condoms with landmines. Both involve very different explosions, but they're two totally different things. But there we are anyway, hybrid's gone. Fans are happy, Btcc's happy, teams are happy, and boy, some of the guys on the tills in the garages are chuffed with that, because I've had conversations over the last few years and messages from a couple of mechanics over the last couple of days with quotes that I won't share here. The sweary. I've seen full-scale arguments over it. I've watched an entire team, and this was up at Knockhill where there are awnings, not garages, be told firmly by a high-ranking TOGA official not to say a bad word about hybrid at the press. That was 2022. And they didn't. Well, not on the record anyway. Off the record, there were more complaints than you'll realise in that first season. But last year, it was never really spoken about. But still, like I say, in the last few days, I've had messages with the words of "thank fuck for that" from people in the paddock. This is the point where I'm going to ask a big favour. You've heard it before on other channels and you think, oh, for fuck's sake, this is boring. But honestly, hitting the like button, commenting, it will make a big difference to this channel. I'll tell you why at the end. But please comment on this video. Ask questions. If I can answer or have an informed opinion, I'm more than happy to give answers where I can. And subscribe too. Because when I find stuff out, stuff that you won't find in a press release, something from the paddock that's worth sharing, and I can share it because it's not totally off the record, you're going to be seeing more of that over the winter and from the Btcc and TCR UK paddock next season, because we're changing things up at Touring Car Magazine. And if you've read the story on our website, hopefully it'll be stuff from the TCR World Tour paddock. If we can get into the UK too, like I say, get on the website, read that story about World Touring Car or TCR World Tour, possibly Donington, maybe. There's reasons to think it is coming. But anyway, back to what we're talking about. The cars are going to be 55 kilograms lighter now, so they will be nimble. But the power. These cars are incredibly wound back. Like, without boost, they are less than 4/5 of their full horsepower. Under 400 horsepower. The thing is, with the hybrid going and turbo being used for boost, that boost is going to remain the same under the button, 60 horses. So there's a good chunk of redundancy built in above that to protect the units. The interview last week, Engine Power came up, as it has, when I asked Craig Pawley, Jake Hill's engineer, for a piece in Touring Car Magazine earlier in the year, where he wouldn't share numbers on the BMW, but yeah, he confirmed these cars are held way back on a leash. Now, Dave Tyson from Unlimited said that the TOGA engine, unrestricted, is around about 500 horses. So that shows how new they really are. Now, over this winter, recalculating weight distribution is going to be one of the factors as teams improve the cars. But the other thing is going to be engines. And I really would urge you to read the article linked in the description. It's a little more detailed than here, but I'll reveal that they are mentioned. Engines, that is, anyway. The engine builders, that'll be M Sport for TOGA, Mountune for Ford, Swinton for Hyundai, Hyundai, not Hyundai, and Neil Brown for Toyota and BMW. They've been dyno and speed testing engines with the sustainable fuel to, well, get the best that they can out of it. And what we don't want is a development war there. So, thankfully, this morning, TOCA revealed that engine developments will be frozen and homologated on April 1st in time for the first official 2-day test at Croft, which I love because I can sleep in my own bed for that one. And there'll be no further engine development for 2025 and 2026. Don't worry though, if an engine is uncompetitive or run off in the distance, TOCA will do what they already do, and that is to give an odd tweak to the engines to allow them to be lifted or reined in for parity. But this sustainable fuel thing, what I like is it's being marketed primarily as being for the championship and its credentials rather than as solely a selling point for manufacturers to join the series. So it's ditching the stigma of being a championship that pollutes. So it makes the sport attractive again to investors and commercial partners who possibly wouldn't have invested in the future. And we've got to be honest here, manufacturers are not volunteering en masse to come to or back to the Btcc. Now, Formula One's going full sustainable in 2026. You'll still see Shell badges on Ferrari and that Saudi company that I won't mention, or Aston Martin's. Motor racing overall, with renewables and sustainables, there's an opportunity to create an advertising war. Because you can't advertise vices anymore, tobacco, alcohol, even petrol products really, because they're evil. The clean alternative, it's a new battleground, and the Btcc over the next decade, adding in their own sustainability targets, is a perfect place for advertising real proper drop-in sustainable fuel for the cars that we drive today. If you read the article, you'll discover how, like I said before, apart from fuel lines and seals, nothing will be replaced for 2025 on Btcc cars as far as fuel systems and the engine goes. Because after all, there's nothing wrong with a combustion engine. It's what goes in and what comes out that's a problem. If we can only sort that out, we'll solve everything. As for the other small changes announced today, qualifying, and it's a sensible tweak if you're in favour of the current format, and that is those eliminated in Group 1 will line up on the even grid slots and Group 2 on the odd grid slots. Could be the other way depending on the track, to balance any weather influenced differences from the two sessions. Tyres, Race 1 podium finishers must go to Race 2 the hardest available compound instead of the full top 10. Safety car, like in the United States, now has a safety car line introduced. No overtaking or overlapping before that. When the safety car lights go out to indicate the race is going to restart, no weaving, no overlapping until you pass the line. And cars have to stay within 2 lengths of each other. But interestingly, after Will Powell's huge crash in TCR at Silverstone a couple of months back, there's been a few drivers from different categories have offered an opinion that warming by weaving tyres should not be allowed until the full field is formed behind a safety car. That would be an interesting one. I think it would affect the restart as well because people have different levels of heat. And the last thing, as far as the announcement about TCR going with sustainable fuel next year too, that's great. Will it eventually be the case in national championships like TCR? Yes, of course it will. As for TCR's international, or TCR World Tour TCR as a formula to introduce hybrid in 2026, that's something I don't agree with. We've been there and done it with Btcc. From what I understand, TCR UK and other national championships have voted against that move, and I don't think realistically we'll ever see it as hybrid in national TCR championships. The big problem will be if World Touring cars or TCR World Tour have it and race against locals like they currently do, where some cars will have hybrid and others won't. That's a bad look. Let's see if you're racing in TCR Australia, they go back to Bathurst, big race. Do you want to be embarrassed by international teams using a different format? I suppose that's a story for another day, but for now, thanks for watching. As I said before, please like, subscribe and comment. Check out our website and socials, and of course, the magazine. You can see a few things popping up with playlists, nice video, subscribe, click the subscribe. I had bacon before this started, and it was 2 sandwiches, 5 slices of back bacon in each sandwich with brown sauce and tomato sauce. It said on the pack Danish bacon. I know for a fact that's a fucking lie, because just down the road there's always been a Danish bacon factory, and those pigs aren't brought in from Denmark. You'd dig it in Denmark and bring your Peppa Pig jigsaws over here to eat, wouldn't you? I think that's bollocks. It's not Danish, it's British bacon. So why don't they put British bacon on it? Which actually, if you look on the back, it tells you that it's been reared, not to put too fine a point, it's slaughtered and prepared in Britain. So what's the Danish badge on for? Anyway, see you in the next video.